Hey guys, I got a special review today. This is another crowd-funded electric bike. It's going to be on Indiegogo. I'm getting a little bit of an early review, but it's getting posted the day that it launches. The official MSRP for the mid-level MOAR 24/7 is what they're calling the model for now. That could change. It's $23.99. And what it is on paper is a folding, full suspension, fat tire electric bike. And this kind of brings back memories of the Saunders electric bike for me. You know, it just seemed like, what an amazing price point for something so cool. Because again, this is crowdfunding, so it's actually going to be priced lower if you get it on Indiegogo. And then they'll probably have sales and stuff. It's kind of an anchoring thing with marketing, right? Like, this is about value. I must say that I'm much more impressed with some of the hardware that you get with this bike, but I have some real concerns too, and I'm going to get to those. So let's just start and weave through the bike like I usually do. Comes in black or white. They might have stretch goals for some of these sort of metallic colors. There's actually a blue one we might get to see a little bit later. It does fold, and one of the points they tried to impress upon me was that it folds to the right, and they thought that that would protect the derailleur and drivetrain a little bit better because, the wheel will be in front of it. Most of the other folding bikes I've seen, they fold to the left, and then they connect with like magnetic clasps or bungees or whatever over here. I guess on both sides of this bike, you have a little bit of hardware that's sensitive. Like in this case, it's 160 millimeter Tektro Novella mechanical disc brake. You get disc brakes front and rear. Mechanical isn't super strong, and 160 millimeters is like, especially considering this bike is 74.5 pounds with the battery. The battery that's on it right now is a 48 volt, 10 amp hour. The one that you would be getting, I believe, is 13 amp hour. Again, this is the mid-level bike. This is also the one that comes with a hub motor, 500 watt Bafang, fat bike specific hub motor. Very similar to what we had on the Saunders, but 500 watt instead of 350. It's zippy, but on the crowdfunding campaign, they show like one of these bikes pulling an SUV and going upstairs and stuff. And I think they were using the mid-drive 750 watt Bafang. That's gonna move the motor to the middle here. That doesn't have shift sensing, and you really, there's a lot of sensitivity around the chain, the sprockets, the derailleur. Just, hopefully you're a more skilled rider and you're shifting properly, because otherwise you could really put a lot of strain on that, you plus the bike's weight. Another question that pops up a lot for people is like, what's the max weight, like rider weight on this bike? Especially because I believe the final version, they want to have some bosses here on the rear rack, so you could be having cargo on top of the already heavy battery. This one was 7.9 pounds. I'd estimate the 13 watt hour or amp hour version would be 8.5 pounds. So that's, weight at the rear and the wheel, weight up here on the battery. You really want your weight low and centered. So this is a very rear heavy bike. That's not a great thing. And you do feel a lot of frame flex, and it does make me concerned about the joints. So the big takeaway here is, well, given that there's already a lot of strain on this thing, how much weight, how big can you be? How heavy can you be? And I was told 275 pounds, which that's way more than I normally hear. Normally I hear 250, and even 250 I'd be like, whoa, careful. I don't know what to think. The suspension, the middle one here, it's like this K-Speed. It's just a bumper, and there is some adjustability with twist, but you really don't get a lot of travel, and it introduces weight. It introduces these joints that create more frame flex. I'm not a huge fan of that. The front suspension fork, they told me it's going to be a little bit different than this one, which is frustrating because when I do these reviews, I usually don't do crowdfunded bikes because they change. There's stretch goals and everything, and I've never heard of this company before. But on the other hand, if people are going to potentially spend money on it, I want to cover this and let them know what I think they'll be getting. So I'm trying to give you all these disclaimers. Who knows what you get with crowdfunding? They are going to offer a 1-year sort of support warranty, which sounds kind of neat, where they send you a part if it's broken. That's a step up from Saunders. I think they were pretty difficult to get a hold of. Again, just going off their word for now. The shipping on this is not free. I believe it's like $175, or it might even be a little bit more. It's heavy, it's big. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm looking at this and I'm kind of guessing, they've even got a little horn mounted right there. It looks only like 40 to 60 millimeters of travel. This is a very generic fork. It does have lockout over here. It does have preload, but apparently this is not the fork you're going to get with the final version. Who knows what happens with stretch goals? Good luck. Up here you can see just a ton of wires with all the wrapping and stuff going on. They're doing their best, and they are internally routed here, but that makes me question just the integrity of the frame, because was this an e-bike specific frame? Well, this part was, where the battery is, and it actually seems pretty solid. Let me, pull off the battery. They came here and didn't have the key, so it's not gonna lock on, but it feels fairly secure with this track. You can see where it plugs in. The battery pack right here, it's decent actually, and you can charge it on or off the frame, but this little rubber thing is tough to get back in. I kind of had to mess with it earlier. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's got an integrated Spaninga Linneo LED light in the rear. You can kind of turn it on by pressing the power button here, and I think you might need to prime the bike before the display comes on with that. There's also like a little toggle switch, so if that's off, the bike's not going to work, but it appears that the battery still works. Now you might be like, Court, like there's all these cool lights on this bike. That's one of the other neat features that they've been, I think touting, and you can see here this like LED light strip. It's actually pretty cool. If we come up here to the front, I'm going to press the mode button on the display panel. It brings it on. This is just a standard King meter display, not removable, but it does have a little USB port on the side. Love that, 5 volts. I don't know where you'd mount your phone or whatever, GPS up here. So it's crowded. The cockpit is crowded because these crazy, projective LED lights. But coming back to the rear lights, if you hold up and down, that's going to activate the backlight on the display and also the bike lights, which in this case are wired in to that. And when I pull the brake lever right here, it's supposed to get even brighter. That's kind of cool. And then there's this little turn signal thing. So, nice. And you want to hear something really annoying? There we go. It's got the horn that we talked about earlier. So this is very like moped-esque to me. And then of course the headlights. Look at that. Super bright, aimable, 2 of them. It gives this bike a lot of personality, and I think that's one of the standout features. That seems to actually work pretty well, and they've got this big lenses and stuff. It makes it crowded, it adds some weight, but it's cool, and it might save your life, so hooray for that. Just kind of interesting that it's got like so many different light features when a lot of bikes don't have any. Love that it's got a kickstand, adjustable length, rear mounted, stays out of the way of the cranks so you can service the bike, maybe the chain, without colliding right here. We've got these nice Welgo aluminum alloy folding platform pedals. A lot of times you just get plastic. This is a little bit tougher. You can just kind of push it in and fold it like that, and that's going to make this bike a little bit easier to pack into your car or your closet or wherever, maybe your garage. I'm going to get some help folding it later because it's kind of a beast. 27.2 millimeter seat post, so you could replace that with a suspension post. This does help, of course, the bumper. And again, 4-inch tires. These are 26 by 4 inches. Fat bike tires, they could ride on the beach or the snow or whatever. And that's already pretty good. This bike feels pretty nice. They've got them pumped up a little bit too high right now. It's supposed to go 5 to 30 PSI, and I just don't think, I think they just, yep, they're full. And that could be a little bit of a risk. I'm a light guy though, so it's kind of fine. Plastic chain guide going on so you don't drop the chain. 12 magnet cadence sensor. This is the older kind where it's just a big disc with magnets on it, and they pass by that little sensor right there. It's easy to potentially bump this, and then it can kind of wobble, and then it could start to have issues. So if you buy this and you're like, why isn't my pedal assist working so well? Check there first. I love that the brake levers have integrated motor inhibitors in addition to activating that rear light, because it's a cadence sensor, and that's a pretty strong motor. So if you're going, you got all this weight and you need to stop, it's great that those brake levers really help you. But they are tougher to squeeze. I mean, the cable's going a long way. It's mechanical. This one's a little dirty. It's a demo model. Apparently they've got the mid-drive model over in Europe somewhere, or maybe in Asia. I think that's where Ken is, who is kind of the founder of this whole thing. Yeah, okay, so coming back, quick release on the front wheel, kind of nice to have. Just a standard 9mm skewer though, nothing like, there's no through axles here or anything. Coming back to just strength, this isn't as strong, and it's flexy and you feel it. But for most people, just cruising around the neighborhood, going around some little dirt bumps, that's fine. Just, the experience that you get with this isn't, in my opinion, wouldn't live up to the marketing hype. The guy's like pulling the car. He's going up the stairs. But when you get on this, you know, the whole thing, like, you kind of shake it. Look at that, the rear tire. Look at all that flex. There's a lot of flex going on there. And that's, you feel that like instantly when you get on. I mean, that's almost like frightening, like how much that rear tire is bouncing around to me, especially if you were going 20 plus miles per hour, because that's one of the things. This thing ships at 20 for legal reasons, and then you can go a little faster if you unlock it. The motor actually didn't seem super duper powerful to me. It's just kind of standard, and you're dealing with all that weight and stuff. I don't know, I'm trying to be real clear here. It's cool, the prices can be decent, but it's, you know, there's some compromises, maybe even including this buckle point. When I was pedaling, I kind of hit my knee on it a little bit. It sticks out a bit. It's right there where you're pedaling. It does have a little bit of a lock, so it doesn't come unfolded, but it's just this plastic piece. Okay, this is not quite as hardcore as the ones with the extra pin and the real, you know, solid connection point. And there's a lot of weight going on here, so just mind that lock. Keep your eye on it. Coming back up here, we got the grips. These are just the, you know, look at how easily it twists, right? They aren't locking or anything. Again, this is a demo model, but keep that in mind. You got the twist throttle right here. It's variable speed, and you get full power even on the lowest level of assist, of which there are 5. There we go. You can kind of see it spinning there. You know, 5 levels of assist is nice, but there's no off. There's no 0. So you're kind of always going to get a little bit of help from the motor. And frankly, that's probably a good thing because it's so heavy and you've got the drag of those bigger tires. I really like the fender. I like how this looks. I don't know if all of them are going to come with that. It might be a stretch goal thing. And frankly, the battery and just this metal piece right here kind of acts as a fender. You can see under it, they just screwed right into the battery casing area. There's the cables. Got the rear dropouts and everything. Oh, this is another area. There's no quick release on the rear, and the cable is just strung along the frame. This is more of an older style. You want to be careful not to snag this or have the bike tip to the right because it can kind of bend this up. Shimano Tourney. This is a very basic derailleur. It says 6 to 7 speeds, but this is an 8-speed drivetrain. So I was a little bit surprised. I believe it's 11 to 32, maybe 48 teeth up front. I've got those specs back at the site, along with standover height, length of the frame, folded dimensions, all the stuff that, you know, you might want to consider. Do you have space for this? I like that the rims are double-walled aluminum alloy. They got the punch-outs that might just lighten it up a little bit and maybe create some more cushion. Yep, it's a lot here to look at. It's kind of fun. Maybe we should stop looking and just hop on. Love that they've got an integrated bell. There are some touch points on this that are upgraded. And again, you know, I started this review out talking about the Saunders and how in some ways I was disappointed because their campaign, it just seemed like uneducated. It was like, yeah, our bike's only 50 pounds, you know, it can go 100 miles or whatever it was. I'm exaggerating here. The reality is like, well, sure, you know, at the lowest level of assist, imperfect environment or whatever, for an 170 pound rider, the reality can be different. And I encourage you to like comment here. Maybe you have the Saunders. I know a lot of people love it, and I don't mean to be a hater, but I feel like it's my job to be transparent about what I'm seeing, what I might have experienced in the real world, what I see in the forums. Check out the forums if you want and, you know, discuss this bike. My goal is to help educate, because there are a lot of companies that sell completely assembled electric bikes with support, and they're getting more affordable. And so you buy something like this, you're waiting probably at least several months, you're paying a little bit more for the shipping, you get something that it's going to be difficult to get some hands-on support for. There is a cost. It's a non-monetary cost. It's your time. If you get this at the end of the summer, you know, maybe you missed your chance to ride and get out there. Now, I don't want to hate on their crowdfunding campaign because I love the creativity. This is much more purpose-built. It's a very cool look. You know, so I think I've said everything there. Just take a minute to think about what you're getting and what you really want. So I'm going to hop on this. I always like to put it up to the highest level of pedal assist so you can hear the motor and see how responsive it is. I'm just going to hop on now. Oh boy. Stopping with one hand. It's working out all right. you really can't hear the motor too much over the sound of those, you know, wider, knobbier tires. Yeah, there's the frame flex kind of thing I was talking about. You can do no hands, all right, but I've noticed sometimes when you get going faster, see the speed wobble? Look at that. That's because of the weight, okay? You want to be careful because even when you're holding this, if you get going too fast, that speed wobble can wipe you out. Myself slowing down a little bit more when turning because there's a bit of crack the whip, just a lot of momentum. Thankfully the motor's strong enough to kind of get me going again. This isn't super steep though. There's our top speed, 20 miles per hour back there. You know, we're gonna head back to the car. I'm having fun, but there's a lot of frame flex at those higher speeds. Like you can feel it bouncing around. I don't know how to avoid that without really reinforcing the frame or just making it lighter. I mean, you know, again, the way that weight is positioned on the hub motor versions especially, but just this battery up here like this, it's a big compromise in performance. So I'm actually here with Jonathan from Agency 2.0. How's it going, man?
Hey man, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, so you guys are working on this campaign, you're helping to set it up. You actually did the Saunders, and I think you've done some others. What was the scooter that you guys do?
We just did the Eon scooter, which is the #1 electric scooter on crowdfunding, and as of this morning, actually just crossed the $1 million mark.
Congrats, buddy! So, right here.
Yeah, we're all about electric vehicles here.
So it's nice. You've been, you know, giving me some space to work with these and stuff. This is maybe kind of like a prototype color experimentation going on here, but it's the same one, right? Like 500-watt motor in the back.
Yeah, same middle range version. We'll be offering 3 different versions, and this is the middle range one. Just for these are the 2 prototypes that we have here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And the ones that you've been demoing.
Well, I thought it would be fun to just chase you and see what this looks like third person. So you want to take off and just give it a go?
Absolutely.
There he goes. Looking pretty good. Such a beautiful area here. Sweet. He's taking it real easy. Seriously, you don't want to go too fast on this thing. You could crash. Just the braking, sliding, especially on a gravelly trail like this. I was having fun with it. I like to push the limits, but you know, sometimes you end up with little reminders not to take it too far. So I got to the bottom here and I was like, you know, these lights are pretty cool. When you turn them off and on, see, one of them will flash, and then the other one, which is like a nice little safety feature. I just didn't realize that before. Kind of a neat, you know, if you get this and you're trying to figure it out. I'm gonna go up here and just zoom past so you can get some idea of how this looks with a rider on it. Okay, we made it back to the car. This is the charger, about 1.5 pounds, 2 amp, pretty standard. Just didn't want to miss out on that. I've got Nimat here with me. He's on the team. Nice to meet you, my friend. Thank you for the support. And then Jonathan's here as well. You know, we've got an SUV here, pretty nice. We were gonna just fold this up and talk about how it comes back into the car. Before you do anything, see how the display is on? Like, that throttle is hot. Again, at all levels of assist, you can override, and you know, you don't wanna have an accident or something, so come over here, press the mode button for a few seconds, see it go off. What's the next step?
We turn the light off.
Turn the light off.
Then
Yep.
turn the battery off.
Right over here, perfect.
And this one can go off.
Awesome, man.
Shall we take the battery off?
Let's do that, because it reduces the weight. You know, I think that's a good idea. Perfect, slide that right off. And then we were talking about it before, just debating. You got it here, just taking the front wheel off. You didn't even have to fold it, right?
Right. Yeah, we took off the front wheel and then we just slipped it in the back for speed purposes.
In this case, since it is just a quick release, let's go ahead and maybe we'll take the wheel off. It's gonna reduce the weight a little bit more. So just got the quick release skewer. Oh, careful, are your fingers okay? This one, I think it's pretty tight, which is not a bad idea. It's good to kind of check your quick release every so often, along with the tire pressure. I mentioned tire pressure before, but you want to make sure that if you're on super soft terrain, the lower PSI is going to give you more traction, and you're not going to sink in. You're going to have better control. Okay, so we've taken off the front wheel. And then we've got the
fold it.
Yeah, let's do it. So there's that piece of plastic.
This is a piece of plastic.
It's okay. I noticed that too. Kind of buckles, and this is a little bit adjustable, so over time, you know, if I come over to the other side of the lock, you can see internally it's adjustable, and then it folds to the right, and it kind of blocks and protects the drivetrain a little bit. So yeah, that's great. There you go. And because it's protecting the drivetrain, they were able to put it on that side. Normally, I would say flip it, but with the disc brake, you know, that's also somewhat vulnerable. So I think, you know, all in all, that we just straight up did that. This isn't rehearsed or anything. I think that went pretty well.
Is it okay?
Yeah, you guys, I really appreciate it. I hope this helps you if you're considering this bike, one of the different levels. Feel free to chime in with questions or comments. As always, ride safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Thanks, Gord. Thanks.